This summer, Instacart presents famous summer flavors coming to your front door. Or pool. Or hotel.
Your grocery delivery has arrived, sir.
That was faster than room service.
No violins in the lobby.
Oh, seriously? Anyway, sit back, relax, and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Starring your favorite snacks, drinks, and more. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Rated H for hungry audiences. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours. We're a music podcast that chats to artists, musicians and creatives on their songwriting craft and upcoming projects. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and welcome to episode 242. We've got returning guests today with Nik and Palle from Death by Denim joining us on the pod. If you're not already, please head to wherever you get your good podcasts from and make sure you subscribe to this very one. While you're there, if you feel like it, please give us a rating or review, as that stuff always does help. And make sure you follow us across all of our socials, which can be found in the show notes of this pod. Let's get on with our episode today with Death by Denim. The Perth four-piece have been making electronic-influenced psych, dance indie rock since 2016 and were actually last on the podcast when they released their brilliant album Moonbow last year in March. Next week, the guys are following it up with the brand new EP, My House is a Club, which was inspired by a lot of partying while living together and how that situation kind of usually plays out. We discussed that in today's episode with Nik and Palle and how one of their biggest parties involved multiple DJs around the place, Great Gable and a few other artists joining them in their musical party kind of mayhem. The guys are also heading out across the country this May in support of the EP, and we chat to them about how much they're looking forward to getting back on the road, how they're looking forward to having a little bit more freedom this time around, as I believe last time there still were COVID restrictions, and what fans can expect. We discuss the guys' introduction to songwriting, and we also have a chat about what kind of methods work best for them as a four-piece. Links on where to pre-order or pre-save their EP can be found in the show notes, along with their tour dates. And we want to say a massive thank you to Shari at Great Company Collective for helping out with today's episode. Here is our chat with Death by Denim.
If the words came out, would your mind even change? My house is a club, but it's getting lonely.
Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Nik and Palle from Death by Denim. Gentlemen, hello again. How are we?
Very well, thanks. How you doing?
Oh, look, I'm not doing too bad, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us this fine afternoon where you are.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
How are things over in WA at the moment? How are tricks?
Tricks are good. Very sunny, very warm. Yep. We haven't been gigging too much at the moment. We've just been enjoying a bit of off time, I think. But we're getting bored now. We're ready to play. Yeah. We're ready to tour.
Yeah. And I've been going to watch a few gigs of late, but it's just a bit like now we're ready to be on the other side of that. So it's yeah.
What is the gig scene over in Perth like? I think I've been seeing quite a lot of both large-scale international, mid-tier international, and lots of local kind of stuff. It's a pretty healthy music scene over there, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
We saw our mates band Old Mervs at Freo Social on, was it Friday?
Friday.
And that was absolutely heaving, 800 people, 1,000 people just going nuts. And then Ed Sheeran played the other night to 80,000 people or something. Yeah. Destroyed all the grass at Optus Stadium. Needs to be replaced apparently.
For the footy.
Yeah, for the footy. Come on, next week. Footy season.
Look, you are adding to that next week, I believe there is a brand new EP coming out, My House is a Club, the brand new EP from Death by Denim. Firstly, congrats on this EP. It is, as we mentioned, yet to come out, but it is a beautiful EP.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, it's exciting to have it come out finally. It's been how long, when did we record it?
maybe
like a while back, I think.
Middle last year.
Yeah, something like that. So it's been a while.
June, July.
Of like prepping it all. And yeah, keen to have it out, keen to tour it. Hopefully people enjoy it. We'll wait and see.
Yeah. Always wait and see.
Look, I'm sure that people are going to enjoy this EP. I know that when we spoke, I think around a similar time last year, that you were just about to release your debut record, Moonbow, and I guess, especially if the songs were recorded not that far from when that release kind of happened, you've been sitting on them for a while then.
Yeah, for sure. I think straight after, I think it was like April last year, that's when we started writing all the new material, and then 2 months later we were just recording it again. We get sick of our current catalogue very quickly, so we just want to get back into the studio and record as much as possible, only to get sick of it again. And I already want to release the next EP, which hasn't been recorded yet, but be full of bangers, I'm sure.
I wanted to talk about the recording of this EP, if we're allowed to. The record that we spoke about previously, Moonbow, that was kind of recorded over a more lengthy period of time, and I think that we discussed last year around March or April that you were having all these different kind of influences and different sonics that were kind of playing into that record. This time around, it was kind of in and out. You wanted to get it done and dusted as quickly as possible. Yeah,
well, I think so. That last album we were doing like 4 or 5 days at a time in the same studio. We did the EP in Andy Lawson's studio, and then this EP was 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, for that long?
At least 2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
At least 2 weeks.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Of non-stop studio, which was like completely different. It was very interesting. At times, not as fun as I thought it would be. But then by the end, it was very good. Just because the way we record it took a lot longer for songs to take shape over that time. So, like, midway into the second week, we're like, okay, this is what all the songs sound like now. Whereas before, like, after a day or two, when you're just in there for a couple of days, you've already got a pretty good picture of what the music you're working on sounds like. Whereas for us, it's just like, oh, shit, I forgot that this was a song that's like track 6 on the EP. We haven't even got to it yet. It's just a drum beat. And we're like, okay, let's build it. But we were, by the end of it, it felt like much more rewarding, I think, to have worked on it for so long. Well, like 2 weeks, not that long. But
is it a method that you think that you'd revisit doing it that way?
I think it might be more as a whole. It turns out to be a bit more like a succinct EP, like a batch of work, whereas if you do what we were doing with the Moonbow album and even our first album a couple of years ago, we did it in batches, so like one song will sound like pretty different to the next round, whereas like this EP, although there's like a lot of variation in the style of music, it kind of all has a similar flavour, so I think it's probably a good thing to do again. But yeah, we'll wait and see.
It's a good learning experience, I think.
100%. I know we previously spoke about the I guess the different influences or sonics from that second record. With this time around, having it done in such a succinct volume of time in 2 weeks, were there less influences that were kind of at play this time around, or was it that you're just trying to fit more influences in a shorter time period?
I think, it was the same, like a lot of influences, quite a big list. I think we were trying to channel like the Gorillaz and the Weeknd, fit somewhere in the middle between that. I think the big thing is the influences didn't change. It was just 2 weeks. We're all listening to the same music. No one can go too crazy off the field. It's just, this is what we want it to sound like, and we all had a pretty clear idea moving in, I think. Whereas before it was just like, I'm listening to completely different music 3 months later, but recording for the same album.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It's going to get a bit dicey.
Which I can very much understand, yeah. With those sonics that you've just mentioned, one track that I would kind of like to talk about, and I do realise it's slightly unfair because people haven't heard the EP yet. If anything, hopefully this is just giving them a little bit of a taste or a morsel to hold on for that next week. My favourite track on the EP was Hope We Don't Fall in Love, which I feel like kind of has a little bit of that Weekend influence in it. Firstly, love the track. Thank you very much for that track. I can see that going off at a lot of house parties, things like that. Where did that track come from?
I think it was like a couple songs over a period of time. We had done a song called Hope We Don't Fall in Love maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe more. Yeah, it's one of our first songs in the studio, and it didn't turn out very good, to be honest. And then we had this other song which we never recorded at all, and we just mashed it together one day. I think we were pretty frantically writing in the lead-up time to the studio, so songs were just popping out of nowhere, and then we were just in the car and we're like, let's mash those two together, as we do on really long car trips. We just talk music because our friendship only extends so far in the conversation. And like the setup in the studio was, in terms of synthesizers, the most extravagant that we've had. We got there. Like George, our synth man, spent like an entire day just assembling a wall of synthesizers. It was like very productive in the end, but at the time we're just like, we're actually going to play any synth, because all we're doing is setting them up. We had like 10 on the wall. I think it was a complete studio takeover. Yeah, so that was cool. I think that song had like the most, that's like what we were going for. Hope We Don't Fall in Love, and everything else had a bit of old DVD flair in it. But that's like the most electronic.
Everyone has said, a lot of our friends, band friends and stuff, have said that that's their favourite as well, that we've shown to. So, seems to be a recurring theme.
If anything, it gives fans who are listening to this episode, again, that little taste of something to look forward to, as I imagine that they are. The EP title, My House is a Club, I understand that that's kind of come from this... I'm not sure if it's a lived experience from either one of yourselves, but about living in a share house where I guess that it might have gone a little bit astray with the certain nightlife that's available within the share house, if you will.
Yes. Well, Nik moved in with me a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, just before the summer of 22, I think. And
This summer, Instacart presents famous summer flavors coming to your front door. Or pool. Or hotel.
Your grocery delivery has arrived, sir.
That was faster than room service.
No violins in the lobby.
Oh, seriously? Anyway, sit back, relax, and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Starring your favorite snacks, drinks, and more. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Rated H for hungry audiences. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
Your wedding will be one of the happiest days of your life. And Blue Nile can help you celebrate it with a gift that'll last a lifetime. Whether you're looking for wedding bands, a gift for your partner, or an unforgettable thank you to your bridesmaids, Blue Nile offers a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Plus, expert guidance to ensure you find the perfect piece. Experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999, at BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com.
just the house we were in was like this amazing old house. It's so big, right, that it's quite old, so it can be quite messy, and you don't really notice it unless it's like, unlike modern homes these days, you know. So this was just the perfect place for kind of a constant intake of people to come in and out of. And because we were like, you know, we've moved in together, you know, we're just like, let's party. And at the time there were still COVID restrictions coming in and out for live music venues and whatnot. So there came a point where we were quite fed off, and we just started having quite a few gatherings at our own house. And after a couple months, it was very fun, but then it started to take a toll on everyone, I think.
We had New Year's that year, like the WA government, they locked out like gigs and stuff like that. So we were meant to have a gig for New Year's Eve, but then they cancelled all gigs, and they could say you could have up to 200 people at your house anyway. So like there was going to be maybe 150 people at the gig, but we ended up having 200 people at our house party. So like it was just stupid, a lot of fun. But
yeah, we had like multiple DJs and just like rooms with all these like galaxy lights set up at the ceilings and stuff. It was just very memorable at the time. Yeah.
or not.
Yeah, or not.
I feel like the logic by the government is maybe not sound, but it sounds like it kind of created, well, like a very unique party and musical kind of experience.
Yeah, a lot of the people that were there were like our band friends as well. So like Great Gable, Dice, was Sash Seaborn there? I don't know, there was like a few, just like a whole catalogue of different people from WA music scene, as well as like our personal friends as well. So it was just like a cluster of different groups come together. It was good fun.
That's awesome. In situations like that, is there ever, because was it just was it the band playing? Was it just a DJ set? Were there, I guess, elements of collaboration where you could have other people like members of Dice or Gable up to play?
I'll say there was some collaboration. We basically had like our outdoor beer garden set up with a DJ, and I think Bex. Bex, she does a bit of work around Perth. She was doing DJ out front, and then George was doing DJs in the Red Cave, as we called it, which was another house completely on the other side. And it just like, yeah, you had all these different sections of the house. Like even in our house gym, people were in there like pumping weights. At some point, we're like, what is going on here? Things are getting a bit
proper like project.
Yeah, like, why are people pumping weights? I knew they would, but why are they in there?
That sounds like the kind of house party that you do want to be invited to. Not just the weights part, I think more the randomness of it, but look, each to their own. Anyone who wants to pump weights at a party, I'm not one to shame. So it's a bit of a, I don't actually have a very good segue for this. I wanted to discuss, I guess, introductions to songwritings and where both of you kind of first found your, found your feet in terms of beginning songwriting and lyric writing.
I think before me and Nik met back in the day, we'd both like dabbled a bit in songwriting. And then when we came together, it was like, it kind of started as I would have the guitar in my hand and I'd have like a little idea of a lyric and I'd be like, sing this, see what you reckon. And then we'd just work off that really basic level together and then just fully bring it out into a full track. And I think over time we got very good at taking that small idea to the final point. Like we'd be like, we've got 10 minutes to write a song before you've got to go to some meeting. All right, let's sit down with this idea and let's do it. And then after a while, like the other boys started to get more involved in that process as well. So we wouldn't really write a full song. We would write parts and then we'd bring it to the band and start exploring what each part was going to sound like with everyone's point of view on it. And especially the more we recorded, the more important we realised that everyone kind of had their input because it made it more dynamic track to track. Whereas when we write together, we kind of just write the same song every single time. Gets quite formulaic. And I think trying to change that even now moving forward, we want to kind of change the way we write it just to get a bit more versatility in that initial stage. But yeah,
I guess with what you mentioned earlier, the fact that the track that we highlighted, "Hope We Don't Fall in Love," was a bit of a mashup, I guess, of two different songs. Is that a common thing that you find happening within the band, that you tend to almost be? I feel like if I use the word like zombie-ish or like kind of putting together different parts, that's almost an insult to it because it's not like that. But yeah, do you find that it is a common thing within the band in songwriting of bringing different songs together to make them as one cohesive piece?
No. Have we done it before? Maybe another one.
I feel like we never really throw away an idea. So we'll work on something and like it might not be working at that time, or it might be a demo that we've done and it just doesn't make the cut. And then if no one else hears it, it's just constantly in the bank. And I think when it comes to songwriting, like trying to fashion stuff out of thin air is not quite the way to do it. Like, it's really good when you just sit down and get your guitar and you just write a song spontaneously and it sounds good. That's kind of the goal. But I often find, like, I'll always have a bank of voice memos and little ideas, and I'll write notes in my phone about what I thought was good, and because my memory's so shot that I'll just look at my list and go, okay, I'll try this one again, see what happens today. And I think that's, like, over time, a much more productive way of doing it, just trying to keep track of all the ideas you've had.
We had our song Tattoo, which came out a while back now, but I remember we had it half written, and we were playing it live, but then we weren't quite vibing it. So we, like, still kept, like, the core of the song, but changed the rest of it. So it's a lot of trial and error, I guess, sometimes. Sometimes a song will just, like, happen, like Cigarettes and Honey or Wiggy, just happens straight away, which is great. But then another song won't. So, yeah.
Of course, with parts, so not the full, I guess, body of the song itself, but with little parts that are interchangeable, I guess, does that make it more malleable when it comes to a live setting? Do you guys find that you're able to, if there have been songs that have been little bits and pieces or that are built out of one voice memo, whatever it may be, that allows you a little bit more freedom when you're playing the tracks live and mucking around with them, changing the arrangements or whatever it may be?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like, we're quite good at knowing what songs that we have that we can pair together in a live set, so we can create some kind of instrumental thing that bridges the gap between tracks. And the more we do that kind of stuff, sometimes you just start jamming and you go, that sounds really good, don't forget it. And then we work on that idea, bring that back into life. I think generally, like, when it comes to recordings, it's much more structured because it's more efficient that way. If we were, like, all living together and we just jammed every day, I think we'd get into some, like, much more in-depth crazy territory in terms of that. But I think when it does happen, it's always a good thing, because I think the best ideas are the ones that sound good in the room straight away, that you vibe. Sometimes a song you might know it's a great song, but it takes a while for it to work in the rehearsal room so you can bring it live.
100%. I think, even as you mentioned before, even just some of you living together, let alone jamming together all day, has created some crazy kind of situation. So we don't want to push that too far in terms of the limits of pushing the band. You are going back out on tour in May, which is very exciting. I know a lot of fans are excited to see you guys back on the road. When was the last... I was trying to find it last night and had a bit of trouble. When was the rough last full tour that you guys did?
Well, we did, like, a small, very brief tour in, was it September last year? So, yeah. Because we were going to play Big Sound, which was like the first Big Sound that has happened since COVID hit. And we were meant to do it back then, but we got the invite again last year. And that was incredible because that was during the week on, like, Monday through Thursday. We thought, okay, let's build a few shows whilst we're over there, just to make it a bit fun. But it was very hectic. It was like 8 shows over 9 days or something. And the way Big Sound was, it was quite just a lot of late nights on your Mondays, your Tuesdays, your Wednesdays, where you would usually be resting and be nice and chill between weekends on your tour. So that was interesting. But and then the one before that was probably our last, like, proper tour, where we were pushing the album, Moonboy album, back in April last year. So that was a few more weeks over East, which was quite fun. Yeah, I always like it a bit more when it's longer. That was
the time where we had to isolate. Well, we didn't have to isolate, but we, as a band, were like, if one of us gets COVID, then we're pretty screwed. So, like, the whole tour, we were just hanging out with this ourselves. So we're playing a lot of Mario Kart and all that sort of stuff. Whereas this time around, it's a bit more. We can hang out with more fans, which would be great after shows, and just interact more, like, during the weeks and stuff. So that's cool.
100%. I was going to ask whether I guess you're looking forward to being back on the road in a bigger and more freer capacity, but I think that's kind of already touched on that as well.
yeah, definitely a bit more freer, which is good.
Yeah.
You know, as much as we love each other, spending 2.5 weeks in one room together, it doesn't matter who you are. Like there'll be a couple bickers here and there, and you know, we're competitive people when it comes to Super Smash Bros and all that stuff.
Like when you're meeting fans after gigs, like the first tour we did over East was to not too many people at all, but the people who came to that tour still come back to the tours these days, and like now we're actually all friends. We're like happy to see each other. So I think like it was very weird during COVID not having that dynamic where you can actually, you know, greet the people coming to your shows and see what they're about. And like I feel like it's just too disconnected, and especially like we're not that big that we're playing arena shows and we don't want to walk out there and talk to anyone or anything. Like we actually really want to get to know the fans.
Well, I think that it is one of the reasons why you guys are so well beloved and why fans do love you. Is there a track that maybe more so than the others from this new EP that you're looking forward to debuting in a live setting?
I think Hope We Don't Fall in Love will be interesting because we're taking it quite electronic. It's not our usual, so it's going to feel different when we play it because it is very different to all the other songs. But I think we like to, for lack of a better word, we like to party. And this is a party track. So I want to see how it goes on stage. I want to see what he does.
Yeah. It's all going to be a surprise, whatever we do. The dance moves that we pull off, who knows? But that one, same. I think that's the same for all of us, really. Yeah. Like that song to play live will be really cool. We did a little impromptu, secret gig in Perth a couple of weeks ago, and we played the title track, My House is a Club, which was really fun live as well. So, just keen to play all the new ones. You know, not that we love playing the old ones because people still relate to them and love them and stuff, so that's always good. I don't like listening to them on my own, but playing live is really fun. But the new ones is going to be good to see how they react to it.
Yeah,
100%. Well, look, I'm very excited to see the live debut of those tracks and see what happens as you've advised. Gentlemen usually would ask our guests what they're currently listening to. Is there anything that is currently on high rotation for you both, respectively?
Are you listening to that?
You were listening to Lil Yachty, was it?
Wow, true that, yeah. I was listening to Lil Yachty's recent album, which is completely different to his old stuff. I don't really know much of his old trap, hip-hop stuff, but his new psychedelic rock / rap album is pretty cool. What about you?
I'm the worst person to ask because I don't even listen to music. I just chuck my stuff on. I don't listen to anything contemporary at the moment.
Nothing wrong with that, but also a very solid pick in Little Yachty as well, because that record is it's slightly odd, but it is very engaging, if I can kind of pick one word to listen to.
Yeah. Bit of a mind warp.
Yes, exactly. Look, Nik Palle, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today. The EP is the brand new EP from Death by Denim. It is called My House is a Club, and it is out next week. We'll have it in the link to we'll have it in the show notes of this podcast episode so people can access it. But thank you very much for coming on once again.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, and I am the host of the award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. I have daily author interview podcasts, over 1,600 of them that I've recorded over the last 5 years. Hear from all your favorite best-selling authors, celebrities, and more, even if you're too busy to read the books. Moms don't have time to read books. Again, that's moms don't have time to read books. Listen today.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.